Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to day 5 of our Season 8 Hearthstone Battlegrounds reveals. Again, that season starts on August 20th, and today we are here to talk about pirates. Let's go. You don't care, no. You just rather watch me fall from a golden mile. Alrighty, so as per usual, we're going to start with what's leaving first. These are some pretty interesting and honestly important minions that are leaving, 2 of them at least. The first one, unfortunately, not so much, but the first one is the Underhanded Dealer. This was the tier 5 that gained +1/+1 for each instance of gaining gold. I think when it came out, it was really good. I mean, I'd never see it anymore. I don't play it. I haven't seen it in combat really at all. So probably good that it's leaving. The next pirate leaving is a really big one. The Free Dealing Gambler is leaving. And this one, I don't know about y'all, but when I couldn't make a decision about what I wanted to buy, I would always buy the Gambler. And then you'd cycle the Gamblers just in case, because you never know. You could get the one buddy that gives stats for each pirate you've played this game. Kind of crazy that that one's leaving. And our last pirate leaving is the Deck Swabby. This one came back recently, actually, kind of, depending on what you think is recent, but came back and now it's leaving again. I did like the economy that it provided on tier 1, but I do understand why it's leaving. And I think that honestly, but between some economy choices, this one's not my favorite. So it's okay. We have some pirates that are returning or have changed. We talked about this yesterday in our Quillbore video, but the Thorn Captain is returning. This is our Quillbore pirate. After a card is added to your hand, gain +1 health until next turn. I think theoretically has a little bit more application on the Quillbore side of things because you can just keep adding blood gems to your hand. But there's definitely a lot of cycling with pirates, but I don't know how much really Thorn Captain is going to be involved in that. So we were talking about other economically sound tier 1 minions. This one is actually coming back to tier 2. This is the South Sea Busker on tier 2, which has a battle cry of gain 1 gold next turn. Tier 2 makes sense because all of the economy moved up to tier 2, and I completely understand why it's on tier 2. I really prefer this minion over the Swabby on 1, I think. The Swabby on 1 provided a very specific line of play of like, oh, I'm either gonna get like spell value next turn while I level and have this floating gold, or I'm going to 3-on-3, right? So Swabby felt kind of clunky sometimes, but South Sea Busker, however, who doesn't want extra gold, right? Here's another one that's already been discussed. This was in the Elemental video, the Land Lubber, moving down to tier 3. And our last pirate, this is another dual type, but we haven't talked about this other type yet. We have the Primate, which is the Beast Pirate, moving up to tier 5. That's all for returning or change. Now moving on to brand new. Our first new pirate is on tier 2. This is the Gift Pilferer. It gives very similar vibes to the Swabby. This one, I believe, is an aura because it's not a battle cry, and it says upgrading the tavern costs 1 less and the golden version 2. So obviously these stack, so you can play multiple of them, continuing to reduce the cost of your tavern. I'm honestly really curious about the application of this, considering that I believe this is an aura. Also, I feel like I should clarify just in case. When I say aura, I mean like you play a minion, and while it's in play, that effect is active. Like, shoot, what's another aura? Like the hummingbird for beast, right? It gives your other beasts +2 attack, but as soon as it dies, it no longer does that. So like that. Yeah, this has to offer some pretty interesting line of play. I just don't know what it is yet. Our next new minion is on tier 4. This is the Sky Pirate Flag Bearer. I think this one's hilarious. Start of combat, give your other pirate's death rattle, summon a 1/1 pirate, it attacks immediately, and the golden version is a 2/2. So everything turns into a scallywag. Sky Pirate Flag Bearer turns all of your minions into scallywags. But, and I know what you're thinking, you're like, that's not that good. Like, I have these really big pirates. That's not that good. Okay, yes. But that's where our new tier 5 minion comes into play. This is the Cruise Controlman. This one has a death rattle. For the rest of this combat, after you summon a pirate, give it +4 attack, and the golden version gives +8. So yes, you have all these little 1/1 guys, and you're like, what am I doing with this? You can at least give them attack, right? So they're not just little 1/1 guys, they're little 5/1 guys. Between the tier 4 and the tier 5, I think that this provides a whole lot of support for our Eliza Scallywag, Rapscallion Recruiter comp. We have one more new pirate coming to the game. This is on tier 6, and this is the Ice Fisher. After you buy a minion, gain stats equal to its tier, and the golden version gains double. So how the Flag Bearer and the Cruise Controlman that we just talked about feel more supportive of that Death Rattle, Eliza, Scallywag, Rapscallion Recruiter comp, this one feels more supportive towards like your Peggy comp that just scales your board. That's like permanent stats. I'm really curious how these are going to play out. I feel like Pirates right now in this moment in the meta don't feel the best. I mean, there's like the Greymane Tethys comp, but outside of that, Pirates have like a strong mid game because they get attack very suddenly. But I wonder how this is all going to play out compared to the other minion types. I guess one thing that could help us clear Pirates up a little bit are the trinkets. We're going to start with our lesser trinkets here. The first one is Ship in a Bottle. This is essentially boat in a trinket. It's 4 gold, and at the start of combat, get and summon a random pirate. It attacks immediately. I like that you get free things with this. It's 4 gold, and every start of combat, you get something for free. This isn't a summon when you have space situation. This is summon at the start of combat, so it will attack immediately if you have the space for it. Next, we've seen this one before, the Kodo Leather Pouch. 2 gold. After you buy a card, give a random friendly minion +2/+1. When you're playing that cycling pirate comp and you have lots of gold and you're buying lots of things, this can scale very quickly. I can't quite remember what other minion type we saw this one with first, but I feel like it's got a lot more synergy with pirates than it does with anything else so far. Our next lesser trinket, this is the Booty Bay Brew. It's 3 gold. Whenever you spend gold, give a friendly pirate +1/+2. So this is each instance of spending gold, and you get stats for it. It feels very similar to Kodo Leather Pouch. Slightly more specific, of course, pirate focused. Honestly, I do like this one slightly more than Kodo Leather Pouch. You're not always going to be having multiple instances of spending gold, right? So in that way, it's not so good. But pirates are already really good at gaining their own attack. So this has a little bit higher health than attack, which I think is going to make a difference. Our next lesser trinket is the Ceremonial Sword. This is 3 gold. Whenever a friendly minion attacks, give it +4 attack. Well, I guess this is some extra support for like the Scallywag comp and the Flag Bearer, the Sky Pirate Flag Bearer. Not to mention, of course, we still have our Cleave Pirate, so just getting a little bit extra attack delivering on that feels good. Yeah, there's actually a lot of application for this as well. Last lesser trinket is not my favorite thing. This is the Windrunner Necklace. 3 gold. Your leftmost minion has +8 attack in combat. +8 attack is a lot of attack. My issue lies with the fact that it is your leftmost minion, which means that that is so specifically counterable, right? Like you can run that, and when you get it early on in the game, pretty helpful. But after that, when Leroy is available and when you can specifically counter your opponent's trinket, that's where the issue lies a little bit for me, because your opponent knows that you have your leftmost minion buffed. So of course they're going to taunt something that doesn't matter so that you can run your trinket value into that, or taunt a Leroy or have a Leroy next to something if they know you have a cleave. So that's why this is not my favorite thing. I do acknowledge that +8 attack is great. I'm very conflicted about my feelings towards this. Well, let's move on. We have the greater trinkets. Our first greater trinket is the greater version of the Kodo Leather Pouch. For 2 gold, after you buy a card, give a random friendly minion +4/+4. I mentioned I like the lesser version. I still like the greater version too. You're buying a lot. When you get to this point in the game, you are cycling. Well, you hope to be cycling, especially if you're playing pirates. So I think that this is pretty good. Next is one that was in the blog post. This is Designer Eye Patch. For 5 gold, you only need 2 copies of a pirate to make it golden. It's like lamps for pirates. This has pros and cons, but obviously some pretty big pros are getting golden versions of minions easily, especially ones that matter, like Tethys, like the Record Smuggler, ones that can really impact your game. Not to mention, there's 7 of each tier 6 minion in the game, which makes you 2 goldens and 1 leftover. And this allows you to have 3 goldens and 1 leftover, which is nice, especially for something like Tethys, but at that point, you're probably really overwhelmed anyway. Our next greater trinket is the Elementium Chest. For 3 gold. After 3 friendly pirates attack, gain 1 gold next turn. I do like this, and here's why. The Record Smuggler gets extra value from having 3 pirates on the board, and if for some reason you're not running a full pirate board, this is the most value you can get from a Record Smuggler anyways, not gold-wise, but 3 friendly pirates. So you can run a 3 pirate board as well as whatever else you're running and still get Elementium Chest value as much as you can. We also have our greater version of Booty Bay Brew. This is 3 gold. Whenever you spend gold, give a friendly pirate +2/+4. I like it for the same reason I like Kodo Leather Pouch. And this is, again, instances where you spend gold, and hopefully by this point in the game you are really cycling, so theoretically very much building up your board. Here's another one coming up that we've seen already. This is the Shaman Prayer Beads. It's 3 gold. After you buy 2 Battlecry minions, get a random Battlecry minion. Really, really useful for lots of scaling, lots of cycling. You buy Battlecries for pirates pretty often, and getting a random Battlecry minion sometimes can be very pirate helpful. Sometimes it can be things like the backstage security where you just do damage to yourself. But hopefully it's more pirates. Speaking of more pirates, our next greater trinket is the Balladist Portrait. At 4 gold, this is get a lovesick Balladist at the start of each turn, get another. As I've mentioned already, health is where pirates lack, so having the ability to have a health buffer every single turn, I actually really, really enjoy. Especially since you don't have to buy it, so you just get one every turn. If you want to, you can just let them stay on your board and allow them to triple. This is the sore point for pirates of not having health, but now that no longer has to be that way, I really, really like this. You spend 4 gold one time and you get health for the rest of the game. Your pirate's not yourself. Next is the greater version of one that I just really don't like. It's the Windrunner Necklace. This is 4 gold and your leftmost minion has +20 attack in combat. That's so much attack. It's so much, but it's so easily counterable, and that's just my biggest issue with it. If you know your opponent has this, wouldn't you taunt something that you don't care about so they would run that 20 attack in? It's just not my favorite thing, and I'm really sorry. It's a lovely necklace that has a lot to offer. Our last greater trinket is the Fancy Spellbook. This is 3 gold. After you spend 7 gold, get a random tavern spell. I feel like this could get pretty chaotic when you really get in the thick of it if you're playing a pirate comp with just lots of spending and you're getting minions to hand, and then all of a sudden you're also getting spells to hand, and it sounds honestly so hectic. But also really fun. Just a lot to process, but I think that I would definitely play this and definitely try it. And that's everything for pirates. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about pirates. Let me know what you're excited about. And I'll see you all tomorrow for day 6. Bye, everyone.